My name is Eric Wilson. I'm a filmmaker and photographer, and you may or may not know that I love to emulate the style of film in my videos. In doing such, I have created my own PowerGrade called Arrickscope. Now I know what you're thinking. You probably think I'm trying to sell you this PowerGrade, but I'm not. This PowerGrade is my own personalized PowerGrade, but I do want to show and educate people on how to get that film look, or how I get that film look in my videos besides using a tool like Dehancer or Filmbox. I started to develop Arrickscope a few months ago, kind of wanted to have my own ownership over my color grading and kind of have like a I did that type of feel with the things that I create. But like I said, like if I'm not using Filmbox or using any other tool that's a plugin, I'm using Arrickscope. Probably about 90% of my work has been Arrickscope in the past few months, and this video is really just to help educate people on how to create their own PowerGrade, so they don't have to buy anything that's pretty expensive on the market. Just another example on how to emulate film. Now, Arrickscope is my personal PowerGrade. It's something that I use myself. So this video really is to show you that you can create the same thing all in DaVinci Resolve. With that being said, I'm gonna start yapping in DaVinci, so let's get to it. All right, so we're in the DaVinci tab now. I got one of my best friends, Victor, in here. This was shot on my FX30 with the Sirui 24 1.2. So this is basically the full layout of my, small little PowerGrade that I've created with everything added onto it. Our eventual look is something like this, which really is a little dark, and I really just enjoy it. I think it's something that's became kind of like my style over the years. Trying to emulate film. So I'm going to break this down pretty soon and really just show you guys how we really get this look eventually. All right, so let's go node by node. We're going to first look at the film look creator, which was offered by DaVinci Resolve for people who download the software itself. I don't think this is available on the free version of DaVinci. I haven't had the free version in years, so I really couldn't tell you. But Film Look Creator is pretty sick. It has a lot of different things that you can get into. It has a lot of pretty solid presets that you can touch and play with. And I mean, I'm not really the biggest fan of some of the presets, but they're pretty cool. So we're going to start out with that to begin with. I'm going to put in my my color space right over here. S-Log, S-Gamut 3, Sin, and S-Log 3, and I'm going to use the timeline, which is eventually Rec 709. I'm going to have a white out point of D65. I don't know why I do it, but I mean, it's just the coolest one to me. And when I did a little bit of research on film, a lot of films are shot on that white point of D65. Now, the film look itself was something that I rarely touched in the past. I mean, if you can look over here in my gallery, you can see a bunch of similar Arrickscopes that have made its way through time. But this is the first time I'm actually using the film look itself. I use the elated look. I don't really know why I used it. It just has a really, bland look that I really like to go along with it. So the rest of these are the color settings. Definitely, of course, exposure. That's the light, down or up. And for the rest of these, they're just the contrast if you want to have more or less. The highlights, fade. With the white balance itself, I try to keep something that's around right here, like around 43. And 17, I think that's really nice. The thing that I've really been playing with a lot more was the saturation. With film, you don't have that set, really saturated look sometimes. So I really like the bland look. All right, so with the other features of film look, you have the split tone, which I don't really add a lot of because it can look like that. So I really keep it low on the split tone. I'm not really the biggest fan of vignette. I know a lot of films do have that natural vignette, but I don't usually add that. I do add a lot of halation when it gets to that and bloom. Usually in the past versions of this PowerGrade, I've had bloom all the way up. I decided to bring it down a little bit and just rise the radius because we still get these fuzziness around these light parts of our friend Victor here. With grain in this, they have some pretty solid presets. I mean, they got a 16, they got a 35, and a 65. I like to, play off of the 16 part and add a little bit less softness and saturation. I'm not really the biggest fan of adding saturation in the grain because it turns from noise and it gets really, really noisy. That's why we have this denoise section right here. So I usually keep the saturation down to the minimum. And I think one of the biggest parts of this section here is the image defocus, because with that, we have such a sharp image if we take off the image defocus entirely. But if we add that little subtle blur, I think it gives a little bit more vintage or nostalgic look that you're probably going to want in your footage. All right, these next three are ones that I don't really use that often. I mean, of course, I do use the gate weave. I'm not really the biggest fan of the flicker. Definitely if you want to emulate something that's a little bit more like 8mm, you're going to have to want that flicker all the way up because, it gets really, really choppy and flickery, which is something that you see in those older films. So if you wanted to do that, you definitely have the choice here. Something that I have played with though is the film gate. I think it's really, really sick when we get around the highlights and the halation shows out the film gate. Of course, that's not something that traditionally happens in a lot of film gates in my research, but I think that's really cool to add into it. So we're gonna take this off just for the sake of time, and we're gonna take a look at the other nodes. So we're gonna turn on this next node, which is basically the LUT. This is a LUT that I just randomly found online. I think you could find any LUT like this online. Just look up Kodak film like emulation, and anybody online sells them that you can buy them at any price. But that one is traditionally an easy one to find, just a random LUT online. So we're gonna walk into this next one, which is the advancements. And with the advancement, I traditionally just turn down this offset here. I mean, if we turn that on, turn it back off, we see the difference already. I just think it does a different thing than me going over here and turning this exposure down. So we just go to the offset here and make adjustments. Also, future for any other adjustments, I would just add like here just to have that there. Now this next node is a color warper, which basically you can take any color and change how it looks in the finishing product. So that's basically what I did here. I touched a little bit of the greens and I made them look a little bit different. I wanted them to pop a little bit more and change their hue a little bit. Also, I touched the skin color. I definitely didn't like how it looked to begin with. Definitely bland, definitely brought in some green into the picture. Now the next three are pretty self-explanatory. We have this shot match, which basically I found a shot online. I lost it, so unfortunately I can't show it, but there's a shot online where I wanted to emulate that style and that color. All I did was go to my clips, added the shot right next to it, push shift and shot match to the clip, and I got that in that node, and that was all she wrote. So for the next one, print, it's pretty easy, just to add it LUT of the Rec 709 to Kodak 2393, another print, emulation thing, and this final thing is the film damage. Of course, a lot of films have film damage, so when you watch this clip, you should see some different dots here and there. Usually I turn this off sometimes so I can play the clip, but it's really self-explanatory when it comes to the film damage. All right, so this is a pre to the final shot of this clip. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play around with the tint. I like a lot of magenta when it comes to that final. I love when these pinks really pop, and I love when that skin color pops. And all we're gonna do is add a little bit of yellow, not too much, and we're gonna bring down the contrast a little bit too much. Of course, a power grade is a power grade. It's definitely something that can be changed. I can slap this on anything and call it a day, but you're going to want to change these things. So this is just a start with this one. So let's pull up another one, the one that also goes with it. We're going to slap Arrickscope right back on it, and definitely when it comes to adjustments, it's majority just the white balance. Once I have my settings in, like I said, Let's bring that magenta out. Let's add some yellow in there and a little bit more contrast because we like when that head covers. And we have this really sick shot, probably one of my favorite shots in this group. Another shot here of my friend Xavier, one of my best friends. We're going to add Arrickscope right back on top. We see we have a lot of green. I think a lot of it really is adding that magenta, or sometimes I don't really want a lot of contrast. So I'm going to turn that contrast down, turn the exposure up, and we have a shot like this. You know, there's just so much you can do with your own PowerGrade. You can turn off the print really if you want to add a little bit more and turn their contrast up a tiny bit and get a shot like this. I mean, or you can you know, let's go look at something at the nighttime. All right, now we're going to check out how we're going to look at night. This is a clip I had at the beach a few weeks ago. So we added Arrickscope, and of course it's really dark. I'm going to add some exposure, and we're going to touch that offset up a little bit more. And I definitely want this halation and these highlights to glow a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up that halation. I'm going to turn up that bloom all the way. Boom. Now I have some very highlighted highlights. I got a lot of halation going through there, and it's a pretty cool clip, you know, that doesn't seem too bad. I think it's something that's really simple. All right, we're going to grade. I know you guys have probably seen this clip in my last video. Add a little Arrickscope on top of it. Originally this clip was actually color graded in Filmbox, so this is my first time color grading this one. We're definitely underexposed here. We have a lot of dark spots, so we're gonna expose a little bit more, and a little bit too blue. Let's bring some yellow in there. Now we have a little, and add some magenta, of course. So I mean, with creating a PowerGrade or creating anything that, you know, make your own, I definitely really suggest using Film Look Creator. It's really sick. Not saying you have to, but you know, just as simple as, you know, having something that you just log in yourself and just being able to just tap it on and just go about your day. Now we're gonna finish it out, and you know, just keep putting them on. And I think a lot of it, once you get your settings and you lock in your settings, it kind of becomes like a preset. But I mean, with presets, of course, you gotta still edit a little bit. Like now, if I don't want it to be so greeny, I don't want a lot of greens, all I have to do is turn that saturation down, and we definitely got rid of those greens that we originally had in there. I'm gonna edit this one of my girlfriend here. Of course, this is shot with my Helios. So with vintage lenses, it's a little bit different sometimes. Like the colors are a little tougher to grade, of course. Her skin looks pretty red right now. So before we touch anything on that color warper, we're gonna turn that down and play a little bit with the white balance to see where we want to hit. See, now we're getting a little bit more our type of skin color that we want. Maybe turn down that a little bit, you know. I mean, my biggest thing is with color grading, my biggest thing with anything is just, you know, really playing around to see what you can do. Of course, this is a bare bones PowerGrade. This isn't an extensive, you know, huge tree node, or it isn't like an 1000%, you know, the most powerful PowerGrade on DaVinci. But no, it's just something simple to get a solid look out of DaVinci. We're going to end it here with this last clip back with Xavier. We're going to add Arrickscope once more, you know, just to show. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with, you know, Film Look Creator. Say I don't want elated, say I don't want the film look at all, we get a look like this, which is very saturated. We turn down that saturation and we get a pretty regular film look. I mean, honestly, I like the elated to begin with because it definitely strips the colors, and I can definitely bring those colors back out with using the tint and the white balance to bring back that look that we really want to create. I think Film Look Creator definitely is something that anybody should use on DaVinci Resolve. It's definitely a great tool and choice. I mean, of course, it's free with getting resolved. So I think it's definitely something that if anybody wants to create a PowerGrade, or anyone wants to, look and create something that's going to look cool or possibly like film, I think they should definitely look into, making something with FEELWORLD Creator. All right, this has been a breakdown on my own PowerGrade called Arrickscope. To recap, we got the noise that really helps us not break our color. We have film look that really brings the whole look together to begin with. We have a LUT. We have adjustments for our offsets. We have the color warper. We have a shot match of a clip. We have the print, and we also have some film damage. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you guys checking out this tutorial. I really can't wait to see what you guys create with your own PowerGrades. Like and subscribe. Let's go create. Peace.